to our Surviving Java series, and as you can probably tell with the outfit that we're actually currently in, we're going to be working over in the west, or the Wild West sort of build area over in the Mesa. And I didn't choose that. It was like a 50-50 shot on where I wanted this project to be, and I actually let Sai pick at like a sort of flip of a coin, 50-50 shot, either the Wild West area or the Flower area, because both of them need bone meal. And the project that we're going to be doing is the moss/bone meal farms. So what it means is, because I don't want it to be like a massive big thing, because it's going to be like obviously a very sort of green looking build, I'm thinking of sort of hollowing out a hole and then having just the top section to be storage, whilst the rest of the actual farm itself is down in the hole, sort of similar to what we've done with the Neverwart farm. But yeah, just over in the western area. It does mean like I've already designed the farm that I want, and it is an adaptation of Ilmango's design. So what I'll do is we can jump straight into a time-lapse of me digging this hole out. I think Sai's going to come over and help me do a little bit of digging on it, and after I finish digging it out, we will hop into my test well, because it's going to be a lot easier for me to explain to you the changes, what I've done to the original concept, and why I've done them once I've actually built it inside the hole in like survival Minecraft, because obviously I can't get around the project and I can't fly around to explain like what parts are what, and I can sort of show you the original Ilmango design and then my adaptation of it. So I'm not taking any credit whatsoever on the initial module design. It is a very modular sort of design that Ilmango done. I've stolen that module and I'm just utilizing it in a way that fits my needs and the way that I want to use it. So yeah, let's crack on with this digging a hole. Let me first of all put my arm on before I forget, otherwise bad things are going to happen. I may as well share all of this stuff over there as well. Like, it's a whole ton of resources that we need to get over there. But I have spent the time in order to get it. It took around about 3 hours to get all of these resources. Again, ridiculous amounts of glass. I think it's like 2 shulkers or 3 shulkers of white glass, and then white concrete, and then ridiculous amounts of redstone components and whatnot. And also some lava, because obviously we need that in order for creating the stone to change into the moss. But yeah, let's jump straight into this time. That's me digging this hole. Alright, so after about 6 hours worth of digging and a lot of help from Sai helping me dig it out, the hole is actually finally done. Well, the initial hole that we dug, I grossly underestimated the size of the contraption that needs to be built, but the initial hole was what I was expecting it to be, and then after I finished making the tweaks to the design that I wanted, the footprint ended up being a lot bigger, so we ended up having to clear a lot more room. I know that it looks like it's going to look like a bit of an eyesore, but the majority of this is going to be covered back over, because a lot of it is like the waterways that need to actually go down at the bottom. I just wanted to clear enough, big enough hole in order to easily build it. So instead of me sort of jumping straight back into a time lapse and then building it and then showing you it running here, what I will do is actually hop over to my test world and show you the alterations, because obviously it is not my core design. It's a adapted design of Ilmango's, which I think I've mentioned already. So what I'll do now is hop over into that test world. Alright, so this is the actual test world that you're able to download from a link directly in Ilmango's video for you to actually come in and have a look and see the different like iterations of design. So he's got one that's 5 modules, one that's 2 modules, one that's 1 module, and then he's got a new way of aligning items. So rather than you doing the bone mealing from the top, you got bone mealing from the top side of this one. And then this one I think was like one of the first iterations of using the top bone meal design as opposed to the bottom one, which it all works in a similar fashion. That he's got I do believe double piston extenders in order to do 2 lines of stone simultaneously. I think this one's only got the 1 line, but these ones have got the double piston extenders here. So you're generating 2 blocks of stone on every single cycle, and it's pushing it, breaking the moss. So the actual mechanics of the farm are similar to what you'd find in any sort of moss farm, but it's the way that he's done the redstone and the clocks in order to perfectly time it to avoid you getting cobblestone generating instead of stone. Now, my sort of iterated design is this one over here. So what I've done is the core concept using the exact same redstone, the exact same sort of setup on each individual module. I've got the exact same, because his timings are done perfectly without the risk of generating cobblestone. So I didn't want to go tinkering with that, and it all seems relatively compact and very neat and tidy, which is what I liked about it. So we've got the 5 modules sort of stacked on top of one another. I'm using the exact same clock, but what I've done is I've separated the clock away from the actual device, because I want to run an input to this block here up to the top where our main platform is going to be. So the changes that I did make is that on his one, he's got composting sections underneath every single section of the actual farm. So his ones are primarily just a bone meal farm, and I wanted this to be a moss and bone meal farm. So what I've done is to avoid it taking up such a much larger footprint, which that one does, I wanted it dug into the ground. So I've just done a very, very tall design and stacked each module on top of one another. I've got rid of all of the individual bone meal sections under each section, and I'm just having all of the drops drop straight down into a water stream. So they all drop down into here, and then they go all the way back up to the top. So you know what, if we go into F3, there we go, that way we can fly around a lot quicker. So then the items come up here, go across this bunch of filters, and because there's so much being generated at the same time, it does mean that a lot of it's going to bypass, because this can only filter out so much so quickly. And then once it reaches the end, it's going to go into this powdered snow block, which will make the items drop straight back down, rather than having another glass tube, because it's a lot of glass for a single build as it is. And then the moss blocks all of the drops, including moss blocks, the azalea bushes and seeds and moss carpets, can all be sort of recycled into bone meal. And then they all drop into this water stream here, and they'll run across all of these individual segments of composters. Now the composter sections, I've done the exact same way that he's done on each indoor light module, but I've just done them as a separate system underneath the actual farm itself. So we're collecting all of the moss carpets, the azalea bushes, and then we're recycling any stuff that's left over. And I've got enough composters, so even when all of them filters are full and you're getting 100% of the moss coming into the system, this will still be able to keep up. And even on the off chance that it can't, it will reach the end cycle here, go up this water elevator, come back over to here, and then repeat the same cycle again and again until the items despawn. And to be fair, if it gets to that point where items are despawning, the farm is kicking out more than enough bone meal to sort of like self-sustain, even when I'm collecting the moss carpet and the azalea tree. So we've got a bunch here, and then we should have like a bunch of moss in all of these ones here, and then we should have moss carpets, and then we've got like 2 lots of azalea bushes and 2 lots of flowering azaleas. But yeah, that's the sort of concept behind it. It's a very, very good design. That's how comes I've decided to go with this one. I tested numerous different ones, and I even designed a few myself, but none of them were as reliable in generating stone without the risk of generating cobblestone as this one is. Like, the timings he's done is obviously a lot more precise than the ones that I was able to get done. So if we come out of here, I can actually show you the entire thing running. So the clocks start, and then it's pretty much the exact same thing as his farms. is that you'll get 2 lines of stone being generated and pushed by the double piston extenders. It will break the majority of the moss blocks, and you've got the water sources being pushed, and then all of the items will be get dropped straight down to the center. And as you can see, the amount of items that come in is just absolutely insane. They will then come all the way up to the top here, and then come along our filters. Our filters obviously can't pick up that many items that quickly, and then once they hit the powdered snow blocks, they will then drop straight down into the next water stream, get carried around, and then go through all of the composters. The composters then have a auto extraction thing, which then dispenses the bone meal back into another water system, which goes all the way around. It snakes itself all the way around until it gets to this item elevator here. And then when it gets here, it then goes first of all and restocks all of the dispensers that are activating these moss blocks. And then they'll sort of snake and then go up to the next level, do the same thing. And then eventually, once it's got all the way to the top, it will then come up this next water item elevator. And then it will make its way around to this side where we are then storing bone meal. So you get bone meal coming in here. That is just moss blocks that I had in my inventory at that point. Like, no moss blocks actually make its way into this section. And I've double checked that and triple checked it to make sure. I was getting a few issues when I was designing it. One is that where you got this redstone line, so we couldn't put glass block, I was getting moss blocks sort of landing on the edge there, and then they were sort of like kicking off to the side. So what we're doing is put in powdered snow in the corners here. That way it will take all the momentum out of the blocks that are hitting that powdered snow and drop them straight down rather than letting them deflect and land onto this redstone line. So we should not actually be getting any loss on them sections at all, as far as my testing has gone so far. But yeah, this is now what we're going to end up having to build in our survival world. So now you've got the sort of lay of it. What I'm going to do is jump into a time lapse of me actually building this thing, which I expect the level and scale of it. I've got all the resources set aside, but I'm imagining it's going to take about 3 or 4 hours at minimum in order to build it all. But yeah, let's crack on and get it done. Alright, so I think it's finally done. I got all of the water in place and I got the powdered snow in the correct places. So if we go into some FreeCam and you can sort of have a look at how it looks. I've also extended the switch to come all the way up, so I've just snaked it basically all the way up using redstone lamps, trying to avoid things spawning. The lava tends to stop most things spawning on the actual contraption, so that is pretty good. But I'm fairly sure we are getting mobs somewhere. I know that we're getting slime spawning somewhere, but I do need to prime it with bone meal, so I have gone ahead and brought over a whole ton of bone meal. There's also a bunch of terraforming that I need to do. So I do believe it's like 16 stacks of blocks. So 1, 2, 3, that's 9. That would be 18. Which should be more than enough. I've not tested it yet, and I will be very, very surprised if it all goes off without a hitch. It would be a godsend if it went off without a hitch, but that's definitely not going to be the case. I won't be surprised if I missed a bit of redstone somewhere, or if I've missed... first of all, this is not the layer that we're meant to be at. We're meant to be at the layer below. What was I saying? Yeah, like if I've just missed one bit of redstone or the timings are off, I'll be very surprised if it all does the bone mealing of the moss. We're going the wrong direction for the water streams here. from here and then go. Okay, so it starts off from up here. I don't know why I needed to be up here, but yeah, so we're just going to start putting a whole ton of bone meal into the water streams here. And we need to sort of time it a little bit, because obviously we don't want it going all the way through before the hopper's able to feed it into the dispensers. So if I've got just like one bit of redstone off, or if I've got one timing off, it could end up just creating a whole bunch of cobblestone on a number of the platforms. If that happens, it would take some time cleaning up. Usually when that happens, oh crap, there's something I've not actually done yet. Oh, that was close. I've not actually, let me just feed like most of these through. I am actually going to have to go to each platform. I've not flooded the trapdoors yet, which is something that I should have done. That should be enough to sort of start it feeding through. So now we need to try and get out of here. Come up over here. Ow. Okay, so we're looking for some buckets. Did that. Have we got any iron? Yes, we do. 3, 4, 5, 6. It's fine. Crafting bench. Don't believe I almost forgot that. I knew that it was in my head to do, but then as I was doing all of the water streams, the bubble columns, and making sure all the signs were in the right place, I completely spaced on flooding all of these trapdoors. How is the best way to do this? If I crouch and do it? Okay, yeah, that's fine. So yeah, it's going to be a long case of me doing this now. I have to do it for every single platform. So let me get this done, and then I will finish feeding the bone meal through, and once I'm ready to actually turn the machine on, I will bring you back. Oh, god damn it. Alright, so I got all of the water in place and topped most of the bone meal up. It was actually quite a bit more. I think it was like a full shulker of bone meal before it started feeding through to the very top here. So we've got at minimum 5 stacks in each one. So considering it's sort of like self-replenishing system, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. The moment of truth to see how much goes wrong now. Usually when I've built these and they've gone wrong, sometimes the pistons push up when they're not meant to, and they push the stone into the lava, which ends up deleting all the lava sources, which if that happens, it's going to be another trip back to base, because I don't think I've got that much lava left. Like, this is all the lava I've got left, which isn't enough to replace that much. So fingers crossed that all goes off without a hitch. They should all change. And let's see if this does actually work or not. Okay. That seems to be working. But let's go and have a further look. Getting all stone. No cobblestone being made. That's good. And this layer looks good. Next one. All stone. Excellent. Awesome. And then we're getting it all feeding through here. And we're already getting it feeding through, because obviously the filters can only pick up so much, and it is falling in the correct spot in order to start making its way through and round into the composters, and then the composters are doing their job and kicking out bone meal. Oh, okay. My god, that was honestly, no part of me was expecting this to work first time. I was fully expecting it to have gone wrong somewhere. Like, when I done my last check of it, I'd missed like 4 bits of redstone, and it was this little section of redstone here, and I missed it on 4 out of the 5 layers, the exact same bit of redstone somehow, when I went through and double checked to make sure all the lines were actually connected. So luckily I did check that, and that does seem to be working. We are avoiding getting any cobblestone generating, which is fantastic. And we're getting all of this lovely moss and moss carpet, azalea bushes, so the filter lines themselves are going to be filling up and it's going to be filtering through. So if we come over and we have a look, and we are getting a steady supply of moss blocks coming through now, which is freaking amazing. It means I no longer have to worry about using moss stone bricks or mossy cobblestone in builds, because beforehand it was a bit of a nuisance having to make loads of flowering azaleas, loads of normal azaleas, and a whole bunch of moss carpets. And then we also need to just keep an eye out to make sure that at some point the bone meal does start filtering through. Let's just try to figure out at what point the bone mill's got up to. So it's up to this layer already, which is pretty good. And it is gradually keeping them sort of updated. Okay, so it's got past that one, and it's now going to the second to last layer. So it's already pretty much, it's over 50% self-sufficient. About another 3 or 4 minutes and it'll be fully self-sufficient. So what I'm going to do is let this run for a little bit, make sure I get to the point where I'm getting bone meal coming up this section, because that way it means that the entire system's fully primed and it's completely self-sufficient. We'll get a surplus of moss blocks. I also need to transport a bunch of the shulkers from over here, from where we mined this entire section out, and then transport them over to our main base. But yeah, that is the moss and bone meal farm, which is, wow, it's freaking massive. It's one of the bigger farms that I wasn't expecting to build, but having this now sort of sorted, I'm quite happy that it's done. So what we'll do is, after I've let this run for a little bit, I will meet you back at base to spin the wheel to see what next project we can take on. But before we leave this area, obviously I've said it already numerous times in these videos, the initial farm concept, the module design, completely Ilmango's, and thankful for him, because I was sucking so hard at doing the timings of making a moss farm. It just constantly, I could not get it to stop randomly creating cobblestone, which is my main downfall on this. Just I could not work out the timings, and I stumbled across this one and then I tinkered with it. I wanted it done in a sort of tower format, and I wanted it to be able to filter out the moss blocks with, whilst also giving a surplus of bone meal, which I've managed to do, which I'm quite happy with. So yeah, so what I'll do, and I'll try to make sure that I do it, I'll leave a link of the video of Ilmango's video where he actually goes through the design, and it will actually have the link if you want to download that weld that I've showed you before, the test weld that I actually created this one in. So yeah, I'll catch you back at base. Alright, so home sweet home, and time to spin the wheel to see what our next project's going to be. Honestly, I don't even know what I fancy doing. I don't know if I want to lean more towards decorational, like cosmetic, or if I want to deal with like more intensive redstone. Like the last couple of projects I've made into quite mammoth redstone-y projects, so yeah, I don't know. Let's see which one it lands on though, and see which way our brain takes us. And we're on 3. Okay, so we've got a couple of industrial district ones, and we've got a few zoo ones on there as well. We've got a ridiculous one, which is Cloud's one. Upside down world. Great, awesome. I have no idea what that horse armor one is. Dripstone farm. None of them like terrible, to be honest with you, which is a good thing. Although if it's the upside down world, I have no idea how I'm meant to be doing that. But yeah, let's see where this one ends up taking us. And of course it would be on that freaking one. Oh, Cloud, I hate you. Okay, so we are on the upside down world. Yeah, no idea. Yep, that is number 5. Great, awesome. The only one on the board that I have absolutely no inkling as to how I want to do is going to be incredibly hard to do. I don't even know what I'm going to have to talk to him, like what he had in mind when he suggested upside down world. But that is one more big farm out of the way, and then we can do that. Oh, yay, great. Also, no idea where I'm meant to even build an upside down world. Yeah, I have no idea. I'll have a word with him to see if he had anything in mind, because I am at a loss with this one. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed today's episode. We made a pretty beastly farm out at the end of it, which I'm quite happy with, and I'm extremely happy the fact that it worked first time. I was fully expected, like I set aside a good 2-3 hours spare time to problem solve if like I was expecting it to go wrong. So yeah, now I've got a good few like hours of being able to just potter around and get other little bits and pieces done and have a think about what the frick Cloud meant by an upside down world. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed today's episode, and hopefully I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye bye.